So. Ich würde sagen, gehen wir erstmal in die Richtung. Und dann machen wir nicht gleichzeitig den Weg mit auf. Ist hier irgendwer? Ich habe das Gefühl, hier müsste irgendwer sein. Aber hier ist keiner. Wirklich weit und breit nicht. Die Tür wurde aufgeschlossen. Perfekt. Ja? Clarence irgendwas. Hier ist eine Tür. Tür aufgeschlossen. Da ist die Tür zu den Docks. Da brauchen wir gar nicht eigentlich wirklich hin, weil da ist nichts mehr. Aha. Ja, gehen wir mal zu der Tür. Aha, das habe ich mir fast gedacht.
Is anyone there?
Jonathan, is that you? I did not know you were back in London. Oh, my dear Johnny, I'm so sorry for your loss. Mary was such a sweetheart.
Thank you, Venus. May I
Ah,
come
guck mal, kenn
I
mal.
was going to bed, actually.
An Stufe 4. Okay.
Forgive me. With the epidemic, I tend to forget people are supposed to sleep at night.
I'll tell you what. Come back tomorrow for tea. I'll be glad to see you then.
Hm. Hm. Ich gucke mich gerade einfach ein bisschen um gerade. Ja, das ist immer von hier. Ich laufe mal hier weiter außen rum um den Askalon. Ah, guck mal, da ist jemand.
Good evening, miss. Can I help you? I'm a doctor. Dr. Jonathan Reed.
I am Karina Billow. I don't need any doctor. The rats. Where are the rats?
Miss, you don't seem well at all. Are you afraid of rats? Has one bitten you?
No, it's me who bites them. Tasty, juicy, disgusting rats. I can't stop eating them. Help me, please. Help me to disobey the voice.
What happened to you?
The rats. The answer hides in their little crunchy bones, their juicy, tiny brains.
Miss Billow, please, try to concentrate. Why do you worry about rats so much?
The voice in my head. He forces me to do so. Drink their blood, he said. Eat their flesh.
Do you feel compelled to obey that voice, Miss Billow? Even if you're loath to submit to it?
Yes. Please. Help.
Tell me about the voice in your head. Who is it? Can you describe it? Is it someone you know? Someone you met?
Keep your mouth shut, he said. Don't ever speak about me or I'll abandon you. Help me, please, Doctor.
What is the local news hereabouts, Miss Billow?
Shadows. Shadows hunting shadows. Whispers in the dark. Pestilence. Suffering. Death.
Okay.
Tell me about yourself, Miss Billow. What do you do for a living?
Oh, I'm hungry. Need to eat. Have you got something for me? Blood, perhaps? Can you give me blood, Dr. Reed?
Don't you remember who you are, miss? What you did for work?
I was strong, proud. I campaigned for good causes. But that was before. Before. It does not matter anymore. I'm so hungry.
Ja, was geht denn ab mit der?
I must go now. Goodbye, Miss Billow.
Ja, was geht denn ab mit der? Da geht's da runter. Hier ist zugesperrt. Ich glaube nicht, dass wir in die Kanalisation wollen aktuell. Ach, gibt's doch nicht, hier muss doch mehr los sein. Da geht's hier rüber in so ein anderes. Ich bleib mit mir vorne. Ah, guck mal, das ist Avery, das ist also unser Haus hier. Und hier ist das Gebiet, die Gebietsgrenze. Wie kommen wir in das Haus von uns? Hier, oder? Genau. Kommen wir da rein? Nö. Hä? Ah, guck mal, da ist noch einer.
Good evening, sir. Please forgive me for disturbing you. I'm a doctor.
I never judge a man by his title, but by his attitude. And you are not disturbing me at all. I am Calhoun Russell, and I welcome you.
Well, I must admit it's good to receive a warm welcome for once. I'm Jonathan Reed.
Welcome, Dr. Reed. Welcome to my humble shop.
How is the situation in this part of town?
Life is good and peaceful. We're lucky to live in such an era of progress and wonders.
Are you not concerned about the epidemic?
Oh, I'm sure the authorities would take the appropriate measure if the danger were that high.
You cannot expect the newspapers to expose the truth while the war is still raging. I can assure you that the situation here is desperate.
Well, that's news then. But I can't believe that things are that bad. Are you sure you're not exaggerating a bit? For the thrill of it?
Is it not a little too late to be trading?
On the contrary, it is the perfect hour. Believe me, my friend, it is always at night that you meet the most fascinating characters.
But what about the epidemic? The bombs and raids? And all the random violence?
Please, sir, this is London, England. We will prevail. And if a bomb must fall on my shop, then I'll be there to hear it falling.
So you prefer to work at night?
Oh, I also enjoy a sunny day like everybody else. But the night always has a certain je ne sais quoi of its own.
Der ist komisch.
What can you tell me about this place?
I recently found the best steak and kidney pie in the city. I'd be glad to share the address if you want.
Finding a good restaurant? Is that really all that interests you?
Oh, I have many passions, but nothing brings me ecstasy like subtle and exquisite flavors from my teeth to my belly.
I must confess, I have quite specific tastes when it comes to nutrition.
Really? Well, I'm always happy to try new exotic meals. If you ever find an intriguing table, please share the address.
Do you have any family nearby?
Not since my parents died. I'm London's lone gourmet.
Really? But you seem to be such a pleasant and sociable fellow.
I'm afraid the real hedonist has to be sometimes. I discovered ecstasy as a solitary pleasure, but it does not mean it can't ever be shared.
London's lone gourmet. What a strange title.
I used that name in my early years when I was a food critic, and I kept it.
I may have a look at your goods, Mr. Russell.
Sofort brauchen wir. Ich glaube, das brauchen wir auch. So. Vielleicht schaffen wir es dann endlich mal unsere... Aber kann doch nicht sein, dass hier nur die zwei sind. Gibt's hier Wo warst du gerade?
Good evening, sir. May I have your attention, please?
Come on, Johnny. Don't you recognize your oldest friend?
Clarence. Clarence Crossley. How are you? My God. So you survived the war too? So sorry, I didn't recognize you at first.
I almost didn't recognize you either. War does that to men, I heard. In my case, it was true, for I witnessed the horror that lies underneath.
Der hat Migräne. Ich glaube, das ist auch der erste, den wir finden, dem es nicht gut geht.
Medical assistance, Clarence.
It's a little late for visiting hours, don't you think?
What can I say? I haven't lost my old habits.
I hope we're talking about the same habits, old friend.
When did you escape the war and return to London?
You know what's funny? I almost never think about the war. Not anymore. I'm involved in another kind of battle now.
I know what you mean. I haven't had much time to think about the war either since my return.
Of course. With the epidemic, I bet you've been busy as well. Forgive me, Johnny, I didn't want to sound selfish.
What is this new battle?
I saw terrible things during the war. Horrors I thought I'd forget. They're here too. They're everywhere. Vampires.
Clarence, why have you distributed leaflets about vampires all across the West End?
I have to warn everybody about them. They've killed thousands of people already, unnoticed thanks to the epidemic. We are all in danger here.
Vampires in London? Come on, Clarence. Who's going to believe that?
I'm not mad, Jonathan. You have to believe me. I know they are real. They're all around us, even as we speak.
Clarence, you need to shut up. A soldier back from the war who starts speaking about monsters and dark plots. Do you want to end up in Bedlam?
Now you talk just like my Venus. I hoped you could understand. Surely you know that I would never lie about something like this.
Tell me what you have discovered about vampires, Clarence.
They've always been here. And if you search for long enough, you realize others know about these devils too. I'm not alone.
Wieso genau dort, du Scheiße?
Have you shared your research with anybody else?
No. But I've published my leaflets all across the city, hoping that someday someone will realize I'm printing the truth.
What do you mean you're not alone? Who have you met?
The Guard of Freeway. The Brotherhood of St. Paul's Stole, Ichabod Throgmorton. Those names always pop up when you dig deep enough.
Have you spoken with any of them?
No. With the quarantine, it's almost impossible to leave the West End. But as a doctor, maybe you could, Johnny.
Are you asking me to help you prove the existence of vampires, Clarence?
Yes, Johnny. Please, gather all the information you can find about vampires and bring it to me. You're the only friend I have left. I need you.
Neue Untersuchung, okay.
How is your wife, Venus?
We've spent so much time away from each other, and so many things have happened.
But you're alive. You returned in one piece and you have a family. How many soldiers can say the same?
Believe me, it's not quite that simple. Unlike you, I'm not the man I used to be.
Is everything all right at home? Surely Venus was relieved to see you return from France in one piece.
Have you forgot what people are like in this part of town, Johnny? Venus fears for our family reputation. Now her husband has become the village idiot.
Mhm. So, da brauchen wir noch Hinweise. Und ich glaube, das kriegen wir über sie. Oder übers Haus dann. So, aber es kann doch nicht sein, dass hier nur so wenig sind. Okay, wir werden bestimmt... Ah, es fehlen nicht mehr so viele. Hier noch 2, da... Es fehlen nicht mehr so viele. Tatsächlich. Wir haben schon wieder 7000 Punkte übrigens zusammen. So, dann gehen wir doch mal da rein. Zu dem Ascalon Club. Ich habe das Gefühl, hier lädt Vampyr relativ lang.
Do you know where you are standing right now?
In front of the Ascalon Club, I presume.
The Ascalon Club only summons or ostracizes. What is your business tonight?
I received an invitation. I'm Dr. Jonathan Reed.
Welcome to the Ascalon Club, then, Dr. Reed. Please proceed. Lord Redgrave is waiting on you upstairs.
Tja. Ich würde sagen...
There has been quite a battle here.
Welcome to the Ascalon Club, then, Dr. Reed.
I'm sure the Ascalon Club has the money to replace the furniture.
Ich gucke mich erstmal um. Wie immer, erstmal gucken. Das schaut schon gelootet aus, aber war ich noch gar nicht da. Zugesperrt? Ich weiß nicht, ob ich das Chaos halt hier nutzen sollte. Oder halt dann später mehr ran kann. Hier ist zum Beispiel auch noch. Da kann man auch wohin. Aber das ist mit Ladescreen verbunden. Okay, dann würde ich doch erstmal die Tür hier betreten. Eine Ladescreen-Tür. Guck mal erstmal. Ich könnte jetzt natürlich auch sein, dass wir einfach draußen stehen. Kann natürlich sein. Ich habe das Gefühl, die Ladescreens sind im West End dort 10-mal länger. West End, wir stehen draußen. Okay. Hätte ich mir eigentlich denken können. Hätte ich mir denken können. So. Da ist auch zugesperrt. Ich glaube, wir können nur hier rüber. Da ist kein Lord Redgrave. Oh, ich nehme natürlich alles mit. Weiter hin. Wir müssen ja noch Hinweise finden. Die sind überall immer schön versteckt. Außerdem Loot. Das Gefühl, die haben nur Geld. Kann das sein? Hat Sheffield?
Good evening. We repel the intruders for now.
My good friends, if I may have your attention. Behold our visitor, the good Dr. Reed. Newborn of blood so pure and strong that even my friend Fergal Bansher was no match for him.
Here, here, here!
Come forward, young Ekon, for we have so much to discuss. Welcome to the Ascalon Club, Dr. Reed. I am Lord Redgrave, Earl of Bristol and chairman of this exclusive association.
Lord Redgrave.
At last we meet. I've been eager to make your acquaintance. I've heard some astounding things about you. Please accept my condolences for your loss, Dr. Reed.
Thank you, my lord. Lady Ashbury expressed your wish to meet me.
Yes. The lady has always been a useful acquaintance, though not always reliable. Is she a good friend of yours?
She has proved to be helpful on many occasions.
The centuries have taught me never to trust a woman completely, especially if she is a mortal. Too prone to emotions, if you ask me. Too fickle when it comes to important decisions.
My lord, do not expect me to speak ill of Lady Ashbury.
Of course not, and I praise your loyalty. Would you offer the same fidelity to the Empire?
What do you mean?
I speak of the Skull Plague that threatens London and the country. You have been on the front line in the East End, but the time has come to open up a second front here.
The epidemic has escaped the quarantine. You have new cases of the outbreak.
We don't know for certain, but we cannot allow the disease to threaten the prominent heads of Great Britain.
Why are you suddenly so friendly? The last time I met one of yours, he tried to kill me.
Are you referring to Fergal? He was the most useful of servants, but he was just a servant. You, on the other hand, Doctor, proved yourself much more worthy.
You want me to find possible sources of the outbreak in the West End? Is that it?
Ah, straight to the point, like all eager newborns. We shall have time to talk about all this, Dr. Reed, but first, I should like to get to know you better.
Talk? Is that the only reason you asked me here?
Well, no. I also wanted to meet the intriguing Ekon, who made such a powerful progeny of his sister. You have not learned the name of your maker, am I correct?
How dare you speak so flippantly of my family?
Have no embarrassment, Dr. Reed. We all make mistakes. But whatever your lineage, you are definitely Ascalon material.
What do you mean?
I would like you to become a member of the Ascalon Club, and to serve me as such.
Before I accept, I have so many questions.
Please ask.
What does it mean to be a member of the Ascalon Club?
It means that you swear to protect the interests of the Crown, that you become a loyal servant of the British Empire.
Do you have any official recognition from the government? A charter from His Majesty the King?
No. Of course, the Ascalon Club publicly supports the Empire, but the true nature of its members remains a secret.
Am I supposed to follow orders?
As founder and chairman of the club, I alone am entitled to make demands of our members, and I do appreciate obedience.
What is the Ascalon Club's express purpose?
We follow the credo of William Marshall, the greatest knight who ever lived. As was he, we are sworn to protect the British Empire.
What does Ascalon mean?
Ascalon was the lance wielded by St. George, glorious patron saint of England when he slew the dragon. And like that lance, we pierce the hearts of all our nation's enemies.
William Marshall founded the Ascalon Club.
Not exactly. William Marshall granted me immortality, and I founded the club a few years later. The good knight has been gone for so long.
I killed Fergal, who claimed to be one of yours, sent to cleanse the East End of all Skulls. Will his death be an issue?
Do not worry. My priorities have changed. Fergal was a zealous servant of mine, but like any servant, he had his limitations and is readily replaced if necessary.
I agree to join the club.
This is good news. Good news indeed in these crucial times. Let's inform the Assembly formally and proceed with your initiation.
My initiation?
Fear not. Nothing fancy nor dangerous. It is just that we, the members of Ascalon, believe that tradition and custom are the backbone of this country. My fellow members, dear friends, please gather and welcome this Ekon as one of our own.
Is he worthy? Is his blood pure?
Well, speak, Dr. Reed, in front of the most sacred blood. The blood of our beloved William Marshall, speak now. Will you serve and protect the crown as he did?
Yes, I will.
Then, young Ekon, it is time to testify with your blood. It is time to sign the Book of Allegiance. I know it's awfully gothic and a tad pedantic, but England's traditions are the backbone of our nation. Delightful. Welcome to the Ascalon Club, Dr. Reed. Take your place among the bearers of the lance.
One of us! One of us!
I personally went patrolling last night.
Ich habe das Gefühl, ich kann die nicht auslutschen. Irgendwie traurig.
West End, and I spotted at least 2 foreign Ekons. This is an outrage. We shall chase these intruders down.
I was chased by a gigantic
Good evening, Dr.
falcon
Reed.
2 nights ago.
How does it feel to be this evening's centerpiece? Figuratively.
It's quite unsettling. As a doctor, I am more used to being the observer than the subject observed.
Do not be alarmed. The Ascalon Club has a tried and tested policy for choosing its initiates.
May I ask who you are, sir?
Why would you be interested?
Well, as you seem to be the only man in the room with a beating heart, you draw quite a bit of attention yourself.
Ah, vampire senses never cease to fascinate me. They dwarf those of mere mortals. I am Aloysius Dawson, by the way.
Are you a member of the club?
Yes, I am. And I have been for many years, and will be until the day I die.
What can you tell me about it?
It's not really my place to give you such information. I am merely a mortal member, and a dying one at that.
Are you sick?
Personally, I consider my advancing years are a sickness in itself. My body is slowly abandoning me, Dr. Reed.
Ja, alt halt.
Are you not afraid? You are surrounded by vampires.
Sir, it's for that very reason that I joined the club in the first place.
Is not the nature of this club a secret, shared by only a privileged few?
My dear Dr. Reed, I have spent years and a fortune precisely to gather that kind of information.
So you asked for membership?
I have been a member of many clubs in many countries. But I must admit, this one is my favorite.
Mhm.
What can you tell me about Lord Redgrave?
I would not dare speak of our chairman without his consent.
Mr. Dawson, of Dawson and Dawson, the wealthiest man in England. It is a pleasure to meet such a prominent figure of London.
A withering London figurehead, to be precise.
Are you sick, Mr. Dawson? I am a doctor, you know.
My case is beyond the scope of traditional medicine. I have spent fortunes on the world's most competent doctors to arrive at that diagnostic conclusion.
I'm sorry to hear that, sir. Should I suppose that you're here in search of some form of immortality?
Absolutely not. I'm here to implement my plan to save the city I was born in. To cast out the ghastly evil that has us all on our knees.
What do you know about the Guard of Prewin?
I should not say this, but I admire their commitment. This is what the nation needs right now.
But they are our enemies.
They are not mine, Dr. Reed.
Would you help them?
No. There is a time for such methods. But brute force will not be enough to fight this plague. We have to think differently.
What is the situation like in this part of town?
I am sure Lord Redgrave will enlighten you more effectively than I.
Money cannot solve every problem. This mysterious epidemic is going to require more than money can buy.
You're right. Money is nothing unless one has the will to wield it. I have a plan, sir. A radical one that will save all that is essential in London.
What is your plan, then?
Quarantine and barricades are futile. What we need is a wall. A formidable, unscalable wall to isolate the deserving from the infected masses.
Complete isolation has proven effective throughout history, but the death toll has always been a high one.
I am glad you understand the concept of necessary sacrifice.
Are you not mistaking sacrifice for summary execution?
Why do you care? Are you not a vampire? Removed from all mortal concerns? Decisiveness is what the city needs, and it needs it now.
So, wir reden mit Lord Redgrave.
That went well, did it not? It is always useful to bolster the troops' morale, especially before a difficult battle.
You have the makings of a general, my lord.
I was, though very long ago. Well, not quite a general, but a proud defender of the crown.
So why did you really want to meet me?
Straight to the point again, young Ekon. All right, let's talk, you and I, Lance Sparrow.
I'm listening, my lord.
According to my spies, you have worked with Dr. Edgar Swansea on the epidemic, and your findings were quite alarming.
Do you know Edgar Swansea?
Not personally, But I've been told he has some sort of immortal fetish and is a good friend of yours.
Does it bother you that I consider him my good friend?
As long as you reveal nothing of the club's inner workings, why should I forbid you engaging in conversation with the good Dr. Swansea?
You were spying on me?
Not personally. I rarely leave this building. But once he found you, Fergal kept me informed. Until you put an end to his mission.
Who was Fergal? I don't see him sipping tea with the others in the club.
Fergal Banshire was my squire of sorts. Even before becoming that magnificent beast, he was a brute. He served me well for decades.
No, I mean, what was he? He was clearly no ordinary vampire.
No, he was a Volcod. All muscles and instinct. Quite the rare breed. Ferociously territorial. Mortals often mistake them for werewolves.
You do know I killed him?
Yes.
Will you bear ill will towards me for his death?
Of course not. Your victory was quite impressive and courageous. You earned my respect.
Yes, I'm convinced the recent invasion of frenzied Skulls in London is directly linked to the epidemic. This is not the Spanish flu, but something else.
I would be glad to hear more of your discoveries, Dr. Reed, but for now, my main concern is the security of London's inhabitants, both mortal and immortal.
What do you mean?
Alarmed by the epidemic, the Guard of Prewen has started a war against us British vampires. To appease the situation, we must eradicate the Skulls.
Lord Redgrave is outside almost every night coordinating.
Skulls are hostile vectors of contagion. That is a fact. But first and foremost, they are victims.
I agree, Dr. Reed. Most of the new Skulls who roam the streets at night used to be good British citizens. But they must be put down nevertheless.
So, what do you want me to do?
I want you to investigate the city thoroughly. I have reason to fear there are cases of contagion in this part of town. Our absolute priority is to find and cleanse them.
And how would you like me to proceed?
By all means necessary, Dr. Reed. You are now a member of the Ascalon Club and you have carte blanche. Interrogate the locals, follow all the leads you find, and get results.
Mhm. Mhm. Da ist die Bahnstufe erhöht worden. Wir haben hier auch ein paar Missionchen. Hm? Geh weiter wohl kurz. Ah, okay. In der Emilys Haus. Den zweiten Teil des Testaments. Hier haben wir auch noch die eine Notiz. Und hier, naja. Brauchen wir gar nicht mehr gucken. Okay. Wir haben jetzt 8000 Punkte. Rein theoretisch würde ich ja sagen, würde ja Sinn machen. Allen geht's gut. Wir sind relativ weit. 8800 Punkte haben wir. Es ist jetzt nichts Dramatisches gerade. Und ich habe irgendwie Lust, so langsam was zum Essen. Aber ich habe meine Freundin gerade gefragt, aber die reagiert so wenig. Schatz?
Ja?
Essen.
Ja.
Soll ich was machen?
Milchreis.
Milchreis. Wolltest du nicht vorhin Pizza?
Mit Pizza.
Was jetzt? Milchreis?
Beides.
Beides?
Ja.
Also Pizza müssen wir uns bestellen. Wieso? No.
I think Lord Redgrave just suggested I was sired by an ancient vampire.
Women's right to vote is only the first step.
Schatz, wieso? Oh. Nicht Pizza bestellen? Hallo? Hallo?
Ha?
Nicht Pizza bestellen, oder?
Doch.
Doch. Dominos haben wir hier nicht. Dann komm mal kurz rüber. Oder bist du gerade in der Runde?
Ab der Runde. Mich.
Nein, aber dann mache ich erstmal deine Runde. Und
Nee, ich hab jetzt Zeit. Schon an.
Hä? Ja, der Stream ist doch an. Warum? Ihr seid dann bei der La Vespa bestellt? Da wo wir auch schon die Burger und sowas hatten. Willst du Pizza? Tiramisu? Tiramisu. Okay.
Wenn nicht.
Die haben Pizza, ja.
Hotdog.
Hotdog-Pizza?
Ja.
Keine Ahnung. Wir haben ganz viel.
Wenn unten.
Ansonsten schau einfach du mal auf dann drüben. Und du kannst ja rein theoretisch auch bestellen. Oder? Guck du durch. Ich hab's mal. Ich bleib mal da. Also ich will Pizza Sucuk. Das weiß ich jetzt schon. So, ich glaube, wir müssen die anquatschen.
Good evening, Miss Ashbury.
And good evening.
I'm investigating the source of the epidemic in this district. Have you noticed anything unusual recently?
A few days ago, I spotted a strange house while campaigning for women's suffrage. Awful smell. No answer when I knocked.
Where is it?
It's the Mullaneys, a nice family who live in a big house near the park in the eastern part of this neighborhood.
Mhm.
Goodbye, Charlotte.
She's been quite busy these last few nights.
Hm? Wieso haben wir hier? Achso, zum ersten Infektionsherd. Warte mal. Wo ist denn der hin? Wo ist denn der hin? Wo ist der jetzt hin?
Hello again, Venus.
Jonathan, you're still up. Can't you just knock at people's doors during the day?
Schatz? Pizza Currywurst sehe ich gerade. Okay.
I'm sure you can spare me a few minutes. For old time's sake.
Of course you may enter, Jonathan. I'm so sorry for your loss, Jonathan.
Hm.
It's a pleasure to see.
So you
How is...
probably...
Warte mal kurz. Gucken wir uns erstmal um. Weil vielleicht kann ich so nicht ein bisschen bequatschen und so. Ja, gehen wir erstmal rauf. Vielleicht kann ich gerade was rausfinden direkt. Deswegen gucke ich mich erstmal um. Hier ist wieder eine Tür. Na gut, da geht's noch raus. So. So.
It's locked, all right.
Ja. Haben wir gleich ein bisschen was rausgefunden. Jetzt gucken wir uns unten nochmal um. Hier so ein bisschen. Ich hänge.
Ja, das wird.
Die wir überall hier Geld rumliegen haben, ha? So. Ja, alles gut, alles gut. So. Ein bisschen was haben wir rausgefunden, aber jetzt können wir erstmal quatschen.
What do you need from me, Jonathan?
How have you been since the last time we met? How long has it been? 3 years now?
I've done my duty, like all British women. You have no idea what it was like to wait for months without knowing if I'd still be a wife or a widow.
I understand. Luckily, this part of town has been saved from the worst of the bombings, from what I've seen.
Yes, and it's also true about the epidemic. The flu has killed here too, of course, but not on such a large scale as in other parts of town.
Have you noticed anything peculiar about the neighborhood recently?
You mean except for your return to town? No. Oh, and again, Jonathan, please accept my condolences for your sister.
Why is my return so surprising?
It's more an unexpected happy end than a surprise. You and Clarence, back from the war. You have no idea how hard it's been for me.
Thank you, Venus. It was so sudden, and I've been so busy, I haven't spoken to anyone about it.
I wish I could have assisted at the funeral, but you know, it's been so quick. And what with the epidemic in the streets?
There's no need to apologize, my dear. It's normal, considering the circumstances.
No, it's not. I am sure that Clarence has not even thought to present you his condolences. He is too busy with his penny dreadful stories.
Venus, why do you worry so much about your family's reputation?
Everyone laughs at Clarence now. And they avoid me because they believe I share his insane opinions. I'm a leper in my own community.
Tell me about Clarence's obsession with vampires.
It drives me so crazy it makes my stomach hurt. I was so relieved to have him back. But I quickly realized he'd lost his mind in France.
I understand your irritation, Venus. But you have to accept the trauma Clarence endured on the battlefield.
The question is simple, Jonathan. Is my husband mad? Yes or no? Do vampires exist? Or is Clarence a lunatic?
The important question is, what do you really think of your husband?
I'm tough, Jonathan. He should have told me the horrors he witnessed, however appalling it was, instead of inventing a fantasy about blood-drinking monsters.
So you don't believe Clarence?
If poor Mary, bless her soul, had tried to convince you of the existence of bloody vampires, would you have believed her? Seriously?
What do you think about Clarence squandering his fortune on his obsession?
Soon we'll be poor, and forced to sell the house. Where will we go? In which filthy, infected part of town will we end up? I'm so afraid.
I'm investigating the source of the epidemic in this district. Have you noticed anything unusual?
The McPhersons. I heard they locked themselves in their own house.
They could just be afraid of getting sick.
Perhaps you're right. But if I were you, I'd pay them a visit. A big house, reachable through a courtyard, to the north of the railway bridge.
Okay.
Good.
I remember when Mary came here with her husband and her son.
Schon 2 Infektionsorte? Ach, guck mal, das sind schon alle. Ja gut, den einen Infektionsort, da waren wir ja schon, kannst du sagen. Wo ist denn der Typ? Hier, da, ich quatsch nochmal mit dir. Warum bist du ab und zu weg?
Good evening.
Und wo bist du dann?
Do you realize you are ruining your family, Clarence? Don't you see the risk here?
Money isn't important. Not important when it is a matter of life and death. That is what my dear Venus cannot understand.
People will laugh at you, if they don't already. Think about your wife and your position. Think about your future.
I understand my wife's embarrassment, but gossips don't kill, vampires do. There'll be no future if people don't open their eyes.
I can't believe I'm telling you this, but if warning people is that important to you, why not choose a more efficient way to spend your money?
Don't you think I tried? I knocked at every door, went to every bank, I even tried to be published. No, Jonathan. This is a one-man war.
Mhm.
I'm investigating the source of the epidemic in this district. Can you help me?
Infection is everywhere these days. But if you ever go to the park near that swanky house belonging to the Mullaneys...
Yes? What about the Mullaneys? What about their house?
Not enough noise for a big family with children. Not enough movement. Closed doors. What is going on in there? I wonder.
Okay.
You need...
Na, dann würde ich sagen, gehen wir doch da mal hin. Ist ja eh gleich da ums Eck. Das mache ich noch.
That building is under quarantine. Could this be what I'm looking for?
Mhm. Guck mich erstmal um. Also ich weiß, ich muss mich hier raufschießen, das weiß ich schon. Ah, oh. Hervorragende Pumpgun. Nice. Achso, das ist die Tür. Mhm.
I've never seen such a radical mutation. Could it be a new stage in the disease's evolution?
Mhm. Könnte sein. So, ich will daher. So, wir gucken uns weiter um. Hier mal kurz, dann gehen wir mal nach Hause.
So the husband had an affair with Doris Fletcher.
Doris Fletcher? War das nicht die alte? Was? So, wir gehen jetzt aber mal ins Haus. Wir haben eigentlich 11.000 Punkte. Die gebe ich jetzt mal aus. Und...
Seid zu dritt. Seid diejenige, die
Und, schauen wir, ob wir die Waffen upgraden können. Beziehungsweise würde ich dann auch mal Schluss machen. Für heute. So. Komm schon, komm schon, komm schon. Ja. Ja, Blutpunkte beim draufhauen. Ist mir lieber. Ich habe kein Aluminiumteil mehr. Oh. Damit habe ich nicht gerechnet. Dann müssen wir da nochmal drüber. Sogar die Pumpgun upgraden. Mhm. Ah, guck mal, wir haben unsere Aluminiumteile. Und damit haben wir das Aluminium. Mehr Schockpunkte. Zack. Ja, damit ist jede unsere Waffe voll. So. Schlafen. Das ist auch voll. Wir brauchen dringend mal ein bisschen Ausdauer. Machen wir das noch voll, die Ausdauer. Boom. So. Den Kampfbiss verwendest. Ich brauche an sich mal wegen Blutspeicher. Habe ich das Gefühl. So, dann haben wir alle Punkte verteilt. Gucken wir mal kurz, was mit den Gebieten passiert noch. Und, das ist sogar gesund. Das Gebiet. Händler werden besser. Jo, das Gebiet ist gesund. Wir kennen hier noch nicht alle, aber das ist ja nicht schlimm. Hier sind 2 krank geworden. Bedenklich. Einfach weil 2 krank geworden sind, okay. Hier 3 krank. Müsste auch auf bedenklich gehen. Nee, bleibt stabil, okay. Müssen wir halt heilen. Ist jetzt kein Thema. Und hier. Bam, 0%. Gut, Bahnstufe 4. So. Dann mache ich jetzt aber Schluss. Ungewohnt, dass es so schnell zugeht, das Spiel.